in order for this event to not only be large, but to also be impactful. And so we deliberately reached out to policymakers, and many of you are from policy, whether it's Ministry of Finance, Ministry of ICT, or the various MDAs. But we also decided to aggressively reach out to industry, the entrepreneurs, the innovators, the techpreneurs, the venture capitalists, the young people, or the SMEs really looking for an opportunity to see how does this blockchain thing work for me. But the third major category of stakeholders that we reached out to was academia and research, because we are convinced that it is those in academia and research that are at the forefront of knowledge, that are the ones defining the future, and they believe in developing the next generation of blockchain developers. And that is the reason why they sponsored 100 students to come here for free. But on top of 100 students, they said they will also sponsor 80% of the cost of 200 youth to attend this event. This is where you clap again, by the way. And their rationale was also very interesting. They essentially said that it's great to gather the right type of people at this event, but the future cannot afford to attend this event. The young developers who need to be trained to actually do the blockchain work, the blockchain development that we are speaking about, cannot afford. And so we will subsidize their cost by 80%. So I'd really like to thank Bynars for the incredible support that they have accorded to the Africa Blockchain Conference. So they sponsored, like I was mentioning, 100 students and 80% of the cost for 200 youth. So because of them, this event has been a great success. Now, having spoken about Bynars, I'm just going to mention that if you guys think we've had a great time so far, just watch this space. Because we intend to have a power close of an event. We'll have the Minister of ICT join us in a few minutes to deliver a closing address at the end, but just prior, he'll be on a panel for a conversation along with Binance, the largest crypto exchange in the world, along with the new chairman of the Uganda Bankers Association and the CEO of our largest bank in Uganda, Mr. Patrick Mwehiri. I'd also like to add that Stanbic Bank has also been a key supporter financially for this event's success. So Binance has been the greatest supporter, followed by Stanbic Bank and St. Augustine University and everyone else after that. So I'd really like to appreciate all the sponsors who've stood with us. And just before we go into the What Next session, we'll have another brief session. Many of yourselves attended the pitch competition. So now we're going to recognize the winners of the pitch competition. And at that juncture, I'd like to give the floor back to the MC.
Thank you, Kwame. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause for Kwame. So for those of you who sat here yesterday in the afternoon, we had a pitch competition. Now, I must put some correction to some of you who believed you wanted to see a proposal before. So the whole intention of a pitch competition was, if, for example, some of you have run into CZ and you have 5 minutes to sell your idea, how do you do it? And that was the essence of the pitch competition. We had people talking about solar and water. We people talking about music. We had some people talk about agriculture. And I'd now like to invite James and Aliyah to take us through the prize giving. We had 3 winners, again, sponsored by Bynars. Thank you. So each presenter had 7 minutes to pitch an idea. And we had a panel of judges, 4 of them. And James and Aliyah will take us through the finalists and the award giving. For the award giving ceremony, I'd like to request that Kwame, chairman of the organizing committee, please be on standby so that we can actually do this in the interest of time. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. First of all, we want to thank our distinguished guests for being here for this closing session. I think the excitement has been building for the last couple of days on the pitch competition. Really everyone's a winner here because they were able to demonstrate some really amazing products, services, and I have no doubt that each of the participants will do very well. We'd want to first acknowledge our judges. If you were a judge for the pitch competition, if you'd please stand so we could acknowledge you. If you were a judge, here they are. Yes, let's give them a round of applause. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So without further ado, to announce the third place and second runner-up, this individual and this organization will be receiving $1,000 cash. Yes, please, Aaliyah.
Congratulations, Rosalind.
As Rosalind comes to the stage, may I request a representative from Bynars, Helen, please come to the floor and hand out these prizes. Thank you. As she comes, Helen, you have 1 minute to just tell everybody what your idea was about.
Rosalind.
Rosalind, sorry.
Hi, thank you very much to the organisers and judges and sponsors. Our idea was from the Ugandan Academy of Health Innovation and Impact, and the idea was a blockchain network to enable Uganda to improve the transparency and trust between different private and public organisations as we move forward with the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Thank you.
So the first runner-up is Eddie. Eddie, if you could please come to the stage.
You're on the wrong
Eddie
side
comes
of the stage.
up with his very innovative solution. Eddie is going to receive $2,000, a total of total prizes, including another $1,000 of cash, again, sponsored by Crypto Savannah and Bynars.
Okay. I'm very thankful for the organizers. I'm very thankful for Bynars for organizing this speech competition. We proposed a project that was based on blockchain, mostly for music and artists to get remuneration direct without third parties, in a way that, solve the problem that they are seeing with current platforms like iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, and others. So we plan to take advantage of blockchain technology to put, a current, a peer-to-peer payment for artists. When a song is bought, the money goes directly to the artist's wallet without third party involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eddie.
Eddie, before you leave, we know that you were very interested in programming, and that specifically that iTunes was your main motivation for your interface. So we've gotten you a Mac laptop to make sure that you're able to code Congratulations.
So yes, as he walks off, give him another round of applause, yes. There we go. Now for the grand prize in the first place, I'd ask for Kwame and his team, members of Crypto Savannah, CZ with Binance, if you'd come on stage to officially give the winner and first place recipient of the prize. If you'd come on before we announce the winner. Thank you. Let's give the sponsors of this, the Crypto Savannah, Binance, Do we have Sure Remit in the audience? If you're here, please come up. Yes, please. Mr. Chairman, if you would make the official announcement.
Is Sure Remit here? Sure Remit going one. Is Sure Remit here? Okay. And the winner is?
The results have been verified via blockchain.
I'm proud to announce that the winner is G&H Blockchain.
Woohoo!
Elena, please join us on stage.
Wow. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. She'll give us a quick, receive your prize, please, and then you'll give us a quick 1-minute overview of.
Okay, first I want to say thank you to Binance and Crypto Savannah for this opportunity. And so as I pitched yesterday, our solution is for inefficiencies in the supply chain in Uganda, but we also want to focus on East Africa as a whole. And our solution includes smart contracts, tracking system for the supply chain, and bit payments. So that's it.
Please take a picture with us with your $5,000 check.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm now going to request the other 2 finalists to please join our prize winner on each side. They're right here.
And as they come up, let's give all of the participants and winners a big round of applause.
I think Eddie will need somebody from security to take him home tonight. Thank you.
Okay. It is this gentleman who you see over here, ladies and gentlemen. Screen the picture, Forbes magazine. Yes. So the Forbes magazine, 3 months ago, in February 2018, released a list of crypto billionaires, the Crypto Billionaire Club. And the guy on that cover is the same guy standing in front of you here. Now, I don't know if we have any Ondaba hoodies in Uganda. Anyone have a hoodie here? Because we can take another picture just like that, and we'll have a headline story in the newspapers. But having said that, I'll just make some brief remarks to introduce Sizi, and then invite him to share his heart. We had the privilege of meeting Sizi a few weeks ago when he came to Uganda. He runs the largest crypto exchange in the world, Bynars, and he will tell you the story of how he got to where he got. And after Sizi has shared, many people have flown in from around the world because Sizi is here. And many of you have questions in relation to Binance and how we got to where he is, and he's ready to share. He has an incredible story, both as an entrepreneur, but also as someone who's moved around the world and grown into the profile that he has grown into, but allow him to tell the rest. So CZ, please take the mic and give your remarks. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Kwame. So, yeah, usually I like to take a mic and walk around, kind of more freedom, but I think this will do. So today, actually, it is my true pleasure to be here. I've traveled for the last 21 hours to get here. Also a few hours after this event, I'm actually going to take another 21 hours of flight to get back to where I came from. So this event is very important to me, and I think it's very important to everyone that's here. Oh, thank you. See, if you wish for it, it happens. So I want to say a few things. This event is actually truly amazing. I want to share one experience about me attending events. 5 years ago, 2013, I went to the Vegas event, a blockchain event. And that event, no one was sponsoring it. I paid for myself, but I think that's the best event the best money I spent for myself. So 5 years later, I'm standing here with a billionaire picture behind me. So all of you guys can become billionaires in 5 years, hopefully. So one of the key experiences some people, well, the event organizers and a few people who were involved in the event have already experienced is one of the sponsor payments, the sponsorship payment that we did was done by, of course, crypto. Right? So we made that payment from I don't know where. I think the person who was making that payment was actually based in Taiwan. And that was done on a Sunday. It was not a small amount of money. It's a decent amount of money. I think if we go by a traditional bank route, the money, this event probably would not happen in the same way. The money probably would not have arrived by now. So the fact that we were able to transfer the money very quickly through the blockchain made that happen. So this event is actually really is a demonstration of what the blockchain can do. So, and that's the most basic form, the most basic feature of what the blockchain can do, transferring across countries. So, I was also very impressed with the number of ideas that was proposed and the winners of the competition. So I think basically the level of understanding, at least at a conceptual level, is quite high. I think the next key steps is really to execute them, is to realize them, is to actually build them into real products, and that's really the hard part. So having a concept is usually the easy part. The harder part is to make them into a real-world application. So yeah, because of this scheduling, I wasn't able to attend the earlier parts of this conference, which I fully regret. I just want to see a show of hands. How many people here own crypto? Wow, actually a really large number. Very surprising. And how many people use Bynars? Okay, the same hands, pretty much. Okay, so that's very reassuring. So let me share a little bit about what Bynars is and what we do. Do we have a slide? I'm wishing for the slide. Even without a slide, I can actually talk about it quite easily. Oh, it's up there. Wish list. Okay, all right. Let's go back a bit. Let's go back a bit more. All right. I'll skip that for. Oh, okay, great. Now I can set my neck. Okay, so Binance is one of the largest crypto exchanges. I think most of you guys know already. And I think what's more important than large or small is with one of the most popular exchanges. I think you guys can get the feel from the crowd that not that many crypto exchanges get the level of acceptance. People love it. People like it. I think this is very important. And one of the key things we do is we protect investors. So many people say that, but to actually do it is really difficult, especially in the crypto space. I think many people talk, I think regulation is a big topic for this conference and for everywhere this year about crypto. But right now, the fact is most countries lack regulation around the crypto space. So there's not a clear regulation. And I believe in this kind of environment where the regulations are not clear, it is especially important for us to regulate ourselves. So we have to set a very strong example of doing everything properly and doing everything solid, doing everything to protect users. And we have to make some really, really hard decisions sometimes. So I think this is the key reason that Binance was able to become popular, become successful. So we actually make some of the really hard decisions. I will share in a little bit. So one of the key is actually listing review. Many people will have a project, they'll come to me, hey CZ, I have this project, can you help me list it? My response, I apologize, I almost never engage. The only place to submit a project for listing is through the web form. And we do not allow our listing team to contact with project teams. There's too many attempts for bribery, too many other attempts to influence us. So our review acceptance rate is less than 3% actually. So, so we are one of the most international exchanges. So I think before us, there was a few other exchanges which are quite large and popular, but they only have English interface. I mean, this audience speaks English, but many other people don't. They only have a website. They don't have mobile apps. They don't have a lot of other, they don't have a PC app. They don't have a Mac app. So we have all of that. And the way we view the world is it's one world. So we live on this one little round ball that's kind of blue. And we're all people on this planet. We don't really have a strong view in terms of locations, countries, languages. And I think the only technical difference is really the language that's being spoken. So we want to break that barrier. So we want to provide as many languages as possible. So right now we support 10 languages officially. And we also rely on Google to translate the rest for us. Our website is actually quite simple in terms of number of words. So Google usually does do a pretty good job. Okay, I talked about this already. So customer support is one of the things that's very lacking in our industry. I think before us, typically if you submit a ticket, say if you have something that you need help with, you can wait for 2 or 3 weeks. And we are actually a financial platform. So we felt that was not good enough. And I think even 24 hours is not good enough. But that's where we are right now. So we still have a lot of room to grow. So hopefully we will be able to improve that very significantly in the next little while. So I think as a blockchain business, it's very important to be transparent and to be engaged. So I think we are the first platform that established the 2-hour rule. So when something bad happens, we issue an update every 2 hours. So basically, our users know, our community know what happens. And I'm very happy that now other exchanges and other service providers are copying that, and that's very good. These are some of our social media followers. So today we have about 800K followers on Twitter. And in our Telegram groups, we have about 150K users, all the groups combined. And we have 21 Telegram groups in different languages. This is some of the things people say about us. Most of them are quite good. I wouldn't dwell on that for so long. So, okay, so before I get into the ecosystem part, I want to share with you why we do the things we do. So I think this is very important for people to understand why I travel for like hours and hours to get to a conference, why we still work very hard even though all of our core team are financially free. They are all rich. So we felt it's very simple. As humans, we want to do something that's meaningful. We want to do something that's helpful. So I think ingrained in humans, we want to help another human being. So once we take care of ourselves, we want to take care of somebody else. So I think if we don't do that, then our species will not be here. Any species that doesn't do that will not last very long. Yeah. So other people are doing great things. Like Elon Musk is like trying to change human species into an interstellar species. That's great. I don't know how to do that. But we do know how to run a proper crypto exchange. So we do everything very properly, and we want to spread the freedom of crypto. So we believe by giving people more access to blockchain, to cryptocurrency, it will increase the freedom in a few different levels. It will increase your freedom of assets, the different kind of assets you can hold. You will increase your freedom of investments, so different type of investments you can make. You will increase your freedom of transactions. So for example, we can make a transfer very quickly to sponsor this event, even though we were very far away at the time. You will increase your freedom of fundraising. So if you're a startup looking to raise money for those ideas, that was really good. If they need money to actually execute them, now blockchain cryptocurrency gives you a very strong platform to raise money internationally. So now you can raise money very easily from all over the world. So in the end, so with all these freedoms being increased, I think you can see that the human society will benefit from this high level of freedom much in a very significant ways that people still don't realize yet. So it is our mission to increase this freedom, to distribute this freedom. This is what Bynars is all about. So Bynars is right now, most people know us as an exchange, but we view ourselves as the freedom promoters in this industry. So that's what we do. So with that in mind, we actually have a few very strong initiatives that we have started. So let me go through them. The first one is Bynars Labs. How many of you have heard of Bynars Labs? A few, not too many, huh? So Bynars Labs is a blockchain technology incubator. So we actually invest mostly our own money into startup projects. And we want to invest them pre-ICO. We want to identify, and we especially want to identify technology projects. The guys who are very strong on technology, but say maybe weaker on fundraising or marketing. Because we believe that's something we're very strong in. By having Bynars backing them, usually any project Bynars backs will not be worried about money at all in the future. So we want to look for strong technology teams. One thing about Bynars Labs I want to describe a little bit. I told the team many times that Bynars Labs is we don't measure by return. We don't measure by ROI. The reason being that I'm very confident you'll be negative in the long run. So we always invest in Bynars coins. So if you have a project that needs funding, we'll give you some Bynars coin, BNB. And then you take that Bynars coin. If you have to spend it, you convert it into whatever money you have to spend with, and you build a team and build a product. I think there will be a few projects that may outrun the increase in valuation of Bynars coin. They will outperform us from a company, from a team perspective, from a project perspective. But if we invest in 100 projects, half of them probably will go to zero. A number of them will be break even, and 10–20% of them will do very well. If we take the average of those companies, I think the average, it'd be quite impossible for the average to outperform the Bynars coin itself. But why are we still giving the Bynars coin out? Financially, it'd be much better for us to just hold the Bynars coin. But this is the reason why we want to build the industry. So we want to invest in blockchain infrastructure projects. We want to invest in projects that over 5–10 years later will help build out the industry. So anything that's very fundamental, like new, faster blockchains, safer wallets, easier to use wallets, decentralized blockchains, even decentralized chats, networks, VPNs, etc. So this is the reason we invest. We want to build out the industry. It's not just for the return. I firmly believe that the average of I believe that Bynars coin will outrun the average of the projects we invest in. But we still want to do that. So that's Bynars Labs. And because of this reason, we actually, initially I thought of every fund in this industry wants to invest in Bynars Labs because they want to have some relationship with us. Every fund wants to have a relationship with Bynars because They want to have a communication channel with us for the other projects they invest in that wants to list on Binance. But because we're not looking for returns, we said we will not take outside money. It will all be our own money. And the way we build relationships with outside funds is we will invest in them. So we'll become their limited partners. We'll become their LPs. And they will have to give us reports, not we have to give them reports. So, so that's something we're doing right now. The next part is Launchpad. Launchpad, the platform is actually always active, but we just haven't put a lot of projects on it. Launchpad is basically an ICO platform. If you have a project that wants to do a exchange-based, centralized way of raising money, then we can help you facilitate that. And we have probably the best user base for this. None of the projects we have put on there, I think we put probably in total about 5 or 6 projects, and none of the projects have taken more than 2 minutes to raise more than $10 million. So of the 5 projects, every project raised $10 million US in less than 2 minutes. Yeah. So, but because of that, we're actually extremely selective. Now the pressure is on us. If we choose the wrong project, then it's all our fault because a lot of our users put their trust in us. So this, again, is one part of protecting users. So actually, for the last 2 or 3 months or so, we haven't done one project yet. So we're becoming extremely selective. So Binance Info is a platform for information distribution. So right now, there's a couple platforms in this space which are quite good. CoinMarketCap is a very good site, which I use all the time. But it has a lot of information that's kind of missing. So we want to build a platform where we can issue, well, number one, it's a central place for different type of information, mostly news, social comments, and also reviews, opinions. So it is my personal belief that the social due diligence, the crowd due diligence is much stronger than a couple of VCs. So if you have a project that wants to do an ICO, if you can get opinions from, say, 5,000 people who follow your project, and they will say good things and bad things about your project, that's a much stronger review than a couple of VCs reviewing your project. So we kind of want Info to turn into that kind of platform. Today, it is not yet. Together with Info, we are launching Binance Research. We have Binance Research team internally already. And this research team has been the team that's doing the reviews of the projects before they get listed on Binance. So now, very soon, we're going to publicly issue our review opinions. So we're going to make our opinions public about projects. So this put much more pressure on our own teams, but I think making this information available is very good for the community. And we also will get community feedback once we make our opinions publicly available. Let's see. All right, so we also have the Binance Charity Foundation, which Helen Hai in the audience is now heading. So Helen Hai is actually a very famous person in Africa. We came to Africa because of her. I'll let her introduce herself at some time. But our charity has 2 missions. It's very simple. We want to promote the education of blockchain. We want to promote education, promote helping youth getting into this industry. And we want to be fully transparent. So the Binance charity will be a charity where 100% of the donations and will go to the ultimate beneficiary, and everything will be tracked on the blockchain. So, and you will have 0 admin costs. All the admin costs will be covered by Binance.com. So any donation that's made to Binance charity will go to the eventual beneficiary. And we will lead the donations first, and we will also solicit or ask for donations from other players in the industry. We're quite confident we can raise money quite easily. One of the things I want to explain is right now in the crypto space now exchanges have a lot of power, because basically almost every project will kind of want to list on a popular exchange. So the exchanges have a very high degree of influence in this industry right now. And we want to use this influence for the good. So we want to influence projects to make charity donations. We want to select projects that share our vision or share our mission of protecting users, and we want to select projects that share our mission for spreading crypto. So let's see, what can cryptocurrency do for developing nations? I actually don't really like this title, but I think, to me, it's like, what can cryptocurrency and blockchain do for every nation, for every person? Yeah. So I think right now, to be honest, ICO is one of the most killer apps for cryptocurrency. It is one of the reasons why the cryptocurrency price have gone up so much. And if you look at some of the reports, I think right now, from the early 2017 till now, the amount of money raised through ICOs or through cryptocurrency blockchains is 3x of traditional VC fundraising. So right now on the blockchain, there's already 3x more money being raised for startup projects. And I think that trend is just going to continue. And there's more and more money will be raised on the blockchain. And there's a few differences in the way the money is raised. Number one is, on the blockchain, you raise money from all over the world. So this puts you on the international map right away. So if you're developing a product, say, in Uganda, suddenly now you have thousands of investors from around the world. Second, this few thousands of investors are your users, right? So they will most likely use your product. And this is something that you don't get if you get a traditional VC funding, right? So now you have a few thousand people that are monitoring your development, and as soon as you do a beta release, they will test your product, and they will tell you why it's not good. So now you have this first very loyal user base. And these users, while they're using your service, assuming that they're paying for it in some form, even if it's just impressions for ads, now they get a return by using your product. So now they're investors as well as users. So now while they're paying for it, they're also getting a return. So this is an economic that never existed before. So now again, blockchain enabled this. So this is very strong. I recently did write an article on LinkedIn. From my personal experience, so Bynars.com, we did an ICO ourselves. And from an exchange perspective, I've probably watched thousands of people doing ICOs, and we reviewed thousands of projects. And we have listed a couple hundred. So I think using ICOs to raise money is at least 100 times easier than going through the traditional route, than any other means available to you so far. So if it's that much easier, so let's say in a country where ICOs or blockchains encouraged, guess how many more startups there will be? There will probably be close to 100 times more startups. If you have that many startups in your country, again, many of them will fail, but the portion that will be successful, let's say it's 20%. That 20% is still 100 times bigger than the 20% in some other country or in some other geographic location. Having 100 times more successful startups, and most of them are very well funded, is a huge booster to technology development, to economic development. So understanding that is critical for thinking about how to regulate this space, what kind of checks and balances do we want to put into this space, and especially to industries where traditionally there has not been too many VC funding. So a lot of these considerations need to go in. And once you consider this, it's not about just regulating a ICO, and it's also not just about regulating an exchange. We got to look at the ecosystem as an entire complete circle, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples. In some countries, they will say, okay, now we classify Bitcoin as a commodity. Now every single transaction, there's a 5% tax. Guess what? Well, that kills the volume on the exchanges, because now people are not going to do high-frequency trading. And the tax authority says, well, it's great. Now we're collecting all this very large amounts of tax. But no, you're actually not, because what happens, you have no volume, you have no transactions. Like you're collecting 5% of zero, which doesn't work. And when the exchanges go to a different country, now guess where the project's going to go? All the projects going to go request a list on the exchange that's bigger in the other country, because the exchanges, the projects, once you have a coin, you need liquidity. So this is why people come to Binance, because we have the best liquidity. So if you issue a coin, you want it to be traded. You want it so today if the price is, say the Binance coin is about $13, you want to know that if I want to sell $1 million of those, the price does not move very much, right? So you want to have that liquidity. Without liquidity, the price is meaningless. So now all the projects will follow the exchanges, and guess where the people will go? They will all go to the next country, and in this country, then there won't be too many taxes. So it's very important to think about all of this as a whole structure. So in regions where we have seen very favorable regulations, we have seen all different parts of the government working very closely together. So that means the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Tax, Ministry of Law, Ministry of Business Administration. So all of these departments work very closely together. So and I think we're seeing that here. So that's why it gives us a lot of confidence to come here. There's a few other very strong benefits for developing blockchain technologies. It creates jobs, and for example, when let's say if we have a booming economy here. Let's say if Binance launches a Uganda branch, and all the other projects follow. So it will not just be our own jobs; it will be jobs from all the other projects as well. And what's most valuable is actually you develop the industry, right? So once you develop the industry, that lasts for a long, long time. If you look at Silicon Valley, they have the startup culture, which is extremely valuable. So it's not just about one or two projects. So I think the other stuff I kind of covered. So I think in the end, what we want to say is basically, we want to increase the freedom of money for everyone. And that's really the fundamental goal that we are trying to achieve. Right. Yeah, I think that's it. So I don't know how much time I have, or if there's I'm happy to take questions if I have time. If not, I can take them outside. Yeah.
Thank you. So we're going to have a couple of questions, but a round of applause for CEO and founder. You had mentioned Helen, and I'm going to ask her to come up and speak about herself. And for those of you who remember, yesterday we had live stream. Can I use your mic, please? So remember, we are live on our Twitter handle at blockchainug and on cryptosavannah.com. So tonight, I'm going to do the first selfie with yours truly. Awesome. Helen, over to you.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say the mandate of the Charity Foundation from Binance is to drive from success to significant. And why we believe we can do that, let me give you a real example. Actually, as a personal life, I was actually, it's not a big fan of technology, but then I'm being converted actually by CZ this year. How come? Why did I got converted? Let me give you the story. I'm the Goodwill Ambassador of UNIDO to promote industrialization in Africa. I started work in 2011 in Africa. Some of you might know me. And then I was being elected as a young global leader. So I participate in World Economic Forum. And this year, in the World Economic Forum in Davos, blockchain and cryptocurrency is a big theme. I went to all those sessions. And you know what I find in the sessions? I see there's a lot of Europeans, Americans, Asians in that room talking about blockchain. and cryptocurrency, but I see very little Africans in that room. In my opinion, if we say Africans, we want to leapfrog in our economy, taking the advantage of the technology, but we need to be in that room, start to discussing that problem. So that is very important. It's my fortunately, actually, I know CZ for years. So in March, I had a conversation with CZ talking about this issue. And I said to CZ, for some of you, you don't know him, probably you only know his success, but let me share you a little bit secret of CZ. This is a man only has one suit. Can you believe how simple he is? Actually, he doesn't have any hobbies. His hobby actually is working, except sports. So he's really committed, blockchain and crypto can change the lives. So I sat down with him, we were talking about the purpose of life. So I asked CZ, what do you really want? He said, actually, I want to create 1 million CZs, in the world, to be on the Forbes. So I said, CZ, in that case, please come to Africa. Let's start with Africa. So I want to go back to the comment Kwame made. I want to congratulate you. This is the beginning to create 1 million CZs, and you start from this continent. So Bynars is ready, our charity foundation is ready. We want to move from success to significant. So the thing I want to ask you, are you guys ready?
Yes!
Thank you.
Hey, round of applause for Helen, please. Wow. The opportunities now. So we have 15 minutes, question and answer.
So you guys know why Helen's the head of Bynars Charity Foundation, right?
So questions. I'm going to start from this side. We'll take 3 questions and then we'll... Okay.
Yes, thank you again so much. This is probably the best conference I've ever been to, and thanks for your sponsorship and the work you do. Period, hands down, all over globally, this has been the most amazing conference. Every day has been the president of Uganda, CZ, I mean, you can't even ask for more. So humbly, my name is Sinclair Skinner. I'm co-founder of Bynars. We're a Bitcoin remittance company from the US to Zimbabwe. One of the biggest problems we have is getting indigenous African developers. I think you hear about all these ICOs, but as a person who's an operator, the fact that you can build all these things, I'm like, where are the developers? So actually trying to figure that out. And then 2, dealing with banks. Being a actual operator, it's always hard to find banks in a conventional space that support your operations. What are your thoughts? Thank you.
We'll take 3. So second question, yeah. Yep, go on.
Triasingra Obed, my name's. I would like to thank the blockchain organizers for bringing a billionaire in the house. And I think Ugandans need a very big applause to have a billionaire in the house.
Question, please.
Yes, I happen to be one of the most excited person about cryptocurrencies, and I would like to forward the question to our billionaire. Uganda is actually more interested in knowing what cryptocurrencies are. Yesterday we had a conversation with the Bank of Uganda, and he said he doesn't want to discuss about cryptocurrencies. But so many Ugandans are hungry to know what exactly cryptocurrency is, how can it solve the problem of unemployment in Uganda, 89%, and how can youth who have actually adopted the concept of smartphone and who use smartphone, how can they benefit in mobilizing resources and having the money to do the cryptocurrency and trading. Thank you.
Thank you. Third question. May I request, in the interest of time, make it short, please?
Thank you very much. My name is Osa. I'd like to ask you about the Binance Angel program. I signed for it around February, then I never got feedback, tried to contact the different platforms, still there was no feedback. Maybe you'll let me understand that.
Questions. We have a lady question on the other side, and then we shall take that first round.
Hi, I wanted to ask, to what extent will Binance be involved in blockchain development in Uganda, whether it's training these potential seizes?
Okay, I think that's all the questions I can remember on top of my head.
Yeah, sure.
So going from the beginning, on the developer side, I think both people actually talked about the development resource or capacity. I think that's a very important issue, and that's one of the main reasons why we're doing a charity. We have a charity foundation for education, for bringing youth up to speed. In my opinion, that's not an easy problem to solve. It will take time. So we need to keep our heads down and invest in the education and do more events like this and do more promotions. But more importantly, we need to get into the schools. We need to get into the youth programs. So I think that's a long-term thing. And that's, to be honest, that's something I personally am not very good at. But very fortunately, we got very good people helping us right now. So that's on the. But also anything that we can help to spread the information. So today, internet is everywhere, but the internet penetration, I just checked, in Uganda is still very low. So we need to think of other ways to sort of spread. I think even before spreading the freedom of cryptocurrency, we need to spread more internet coverage. We need to spread more education. So that's why we're doing, it's not easy, but we're doing this one at a time. Yeah. On the banking issue, I think many banks, I think the two questions are kind of related. I'll answer the third one first. What is a cryptocurrency? I think that's very easy to understand right now. There's so many cryptocurrencies already. So the fact that a banker doesn't want to talk about it is a bit concerning. But I think they will have no choice because cryptocurrency will be everywhere, right? So they have to. Yeah. And there are more competition now. So a bank, I think many banks and even governments misunderstand cryptocurrency as a threat. But if they actually understand it, it's a huge opportunity. So this is with everything, right? So with any new technology, you can fear it and just reject it and not touch it. Or you can learn it, understand it, and figure out how you can embrace it, and how you can use it, how you can use it to your advantage. So with every new technology, there's two ways to look at it. So I think basically but one of the good things we are finding around the world, there are now many banks who are willing to work with us, with blockchain companies. So now we're seeing that transition now. So I think that problem will be solved soon. And the last comment about the Bynars Angel, let's talk afterwards.
Okay. Round two.
How you doing? My name is Nouri Amir, and I'm building an exchange in Malaysia, right? And we're building a decentralized exchange. What do you think about decentralized exchanges versus centralized exchanges? And then what do you think about micro exchanges? Like we want to the exchange we're building in Malaysia. We're building a second component or a second exchange that will work with currency exchanges so that people can convert their cryptocurrency into Malaysian ringgits. And since I've been here in Uganda, I've seen something that I've never seen before. It's called mobile money. And I'm interested in how we could actually build an exchange that will allow people to trade mobile money for crypto.
Thank you. Do you have a question on the other side before I cross over? No? I'm coming to you, sir.
My name is Sandra Chogo from Tanzania. I use the Binance platform for trading. We usually get problems with the support. The support response sometimes even take 1 month, 2 months, that's all.
Okay, one last question. Yeah. Wait.
Thank you very much. My name is Ambrose Byamjisha. I'm a researcher, but I'm wondering what criteria would you be using when you're having Binance charity? Will you work with NGOs, with governments, with private sector? Thank you.
Let's take those three.
Yeah, thank you. So the first question is about the decentralized exchange versus centralized, etc. So let me talk about that in a little bit. I believe the decentralized exchange is probably 5 to 10 years later, everything will be on the blockchain trading at a very high speed. But in the short term, I think decentralized exchanges are different from centralized exchanges in a number of ways. Number one, from a technology perspective, just theoretically, if you have 1,000 computers that need to sync with each other, they will be slower than one computer just doing the calculation and be done with it. So a centralized exchange in the short term will always be faster from a technology perspective. And when you have a faster platform, that's when you get high frequency trading, and that's when you have high liquidity. And high liquidity means better prices. So it will mean cheaper to trade. So in the short term, I think we will see that centralized exchanges will continue to be bigger in terms of trading volume and ease of use. The decentralized exchanges will have a few benefits. Number one, you no longer have to give custody. You keep custody of your funds, so you don't have to send your funds to an exchange. Whereas we actually don't want a custody of it, but we don't really have a choice. Second, you have more freedom in terms. You can be more anonymous, so you can just be one address trading with another one, and so there will be very little KYC, AML involved. This will pose a problem for the regulators. But again, if you're thinking about regulating the centralized exchange, you should think about this one first. And this one, there will be no person to talk to even. It will just be a bunch of technology working. So, but in the short term, I think the two will coexist for a while. From our perspective, I personally want there to be as many exchanges as possible. So we actually always encourage other people to build more exchanges around the world in the same regions we are. Copy our interface, copy our coin model, copy everything if you can. So we actually want to encourage more and more exchanges. We think that we're still at the very small tip of the iceberg, where I think this industry has 1,000 times, 10,000 times, maybe even 1,000,000 times more to grow. So we're not concerned about competition in this 1/1,000,000th of a market share. We want the industry to be bigger. So, and also with more people doing decentralized exchanges, there'll be more innovation. The decentralized exchanges will get better. So we actually list about 7 decentralized exchange coins on our platform. So giving them liquidity, giving them more resources. So we're helping other decentralized exchanges teams. And Binance Labs actually have invested in 3 other ones privately. We didn't want to make them too public. And we're also developing our own decentralized exchange. And we also have a competition for $1 million for new ideas on prototypes for decentralized exchanges. So this is an area that we want to promote very strongly. So I hope that addresses that. The second question about our support, you probably have a very unique issue that we don't understand. So I apologize about the length of time that it has taken. So we still do miss quite a lot of our support tickets, unfortunately. So we still need to improve our service. So I apologize about that. And come and see me afterwards. We'll see what we can do. I unfortunately cannot be the customer support for I think right now we have 8-9 million users. But this is an area that we still need to improve on. But we are already one of the better ones in the industry. But unfortunately, we are very far from perfect. The last question was about our cooperation for Binance Charity with UN entities or other global organizations. I think that's an area Helen Hai is extremely, extremely strong on. She has made introductions for myself to meet with many different heads of head states, have organized cooperation, and also we actually, just even today on the trip from the airport here, we were discussing a few different corporations with different other very famous charity organizers and also other United Nations initiatives. So I don't know if I can release the names yet. I'll let Helen handle that. Again, that's an area I am actually personally not an expert, but that's an area I fully encourage and support. So you will see more of that happening very soon.
I'm sorry we have a time issue. I'd like to apologize.
So thank you very much. I'll be outside over.
Thank you. I'd like you to stay there, Susie. Kwame, please.
Thank you. Thank you, CZ. Another round of applause. Now, I think CZ has shared some great insights. And someone earlier said that now you know what billionaires look like. They wear glasses. And Susie, thank you so much for sharing. And T-shirts. No suits, thank you. Now, we're going to have a closing panel for the evening and for the conference. And this is going to be our power close. And I'm going to invite the chairman, the new chairman of the Uganda Bankers Association, and the CEO of the largest bank in Uganda, Mr. Patrick Mwehere, to join us here on stage. Any of the accesses, sir? And this event is being organized, or I'll say has been organized by the Blockchain Association of Uganda in collaboration with the Ministry of ICT. So the last person I'm going to invite to the stage is the Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze. Please come to the stage. Sir, any of the routes? And as Honorable Frank is coming up, I'd like to ask that you just show the slide, the next slide. Over the last 2 days, we've had an incredible time together. We've had an incredible time with 23 citizens from 23 countries. Over 700 people have been in attendance of this event. It's been live streamed. We had the head of state here make some profound remarks. You'll all agree that the head of state has a very unique ability to translate the complexities of blockchain into the ordinary man's language. That was an amazing ability. Even words like ledgers, he insisted that we shouldn't use ledgers. We call them record books. So we've had an incredible function. To the best of my knowledge, I haven't heard of another head of state that has attended a blockchain conference. So it demonstrates the weight that our government, thanks to the Ministry of ICT, is according to what we are doing. Therefore, I'd like to congratulate all of you. It appears that we are in the right space at the right time in history. Having said that, I'm just going to take us through the highlights and then we'll go to the panel. Now, this event was sold out. And when it was sold out, what we decided to do was to instead put up a button, an icon on the website that says, okay, register for 2019 instead. Within 24 hours, 52 people had registered for 2019. Now, we thought that would be a deterrent, but instead it puts a new responsibility on the organization committee to begin preparing for 2019. So therefore, I'd like to go through the highlights and next steps in particular, because this is critical. How do we garner the momentum in order to chart a way forward? And this is going to be the conversation I'll have with the panel. The first major next step has been a commitment by the Minister of ICT to create a national blockchain task force. Thank you. The second major one has been to establish a sandbox in order to create the right policy and regulatory framework in Uganda. Another round of applause for that. The third one has been training of blockchain and technology experts here in Uganda. And the last one has been Africa Blockchain Conference 2019. Now, you know the problems that we had with space here. Like I said, within 24 hours, 52 people had already expressed interest. So therefore, when we make the announcement next time, let's make sure that we can all participate. But what we as organizers want to do is to take the learning lessons from this experience and make sure that next year's Africa Blockchain Conference is an even greater event than this one has been. Now, I had mentioned earlier that CZ had flown in and is flying out. So he flew in by the way, he delivered a keynote address in Singapore last night, caught a flight past midnight, got here right now at 4 o'clock, as you have seen. He's shared his thoughts. He's going to have this panel discussion, meet the press, and then head to the airport. So, having said that, we're going to dive right into a quick end discussion. And by the way, for those who want to have a further conversation with Cesar, there'll be a hall that will be announced after here, where he'll meet the press and just take a few more questions and probably selfies, then we can call it a wrap. Now, I'll start with Mr. Patrick Mwehere, who is the new chairman of the Bankers Association of Uganda. Patrick, we've had a phenomenal event, to say the least. It has been an amazing time, and the focus of the world is here. Now, the question that I have for you, as the head of the Bankers Association, as the one who is in the sector that blockchain is disrupting the most now, how do we as an audience, how do we as a country, how do we as a continent garner this momentum and chart a way forward? Yes, Patrick.
Thank you, Kwame. And first of all, congratulations to you and all the organizers for such a wonderful event, and thank you, Cesar, for the support. Banks, if I was to think back about 5 years ago, if you'd asked me this question about mobile money, I would have been equally defensive. And I think that banks at the time felt they were being disrupted, and mobile money, we kind of tended to think of everything as a fixed pie. So if they're coming into our space, therefore we must be losing something. And as time has gone on and I've gotten wiser, I've recognized that there's actually room for everything. There's room for both. And like Cesar was saying, if you take the time to understand what that new disruptive technology is, you can figure out a way in which it can enable you. So for example, mobile money, which in my view is a small blockchain, in a way, was always the perfect destination for very low value, high volume transactions in the sector. There were certain payments, like school fees payments, that did not belong in the branch network. And it took us a while as banks to realize that actually mobile money was doing us a hope by moving those transactions out from a very high cost to serve expensive area. And so that's the case now. You cannot pay school fees in any of our branches, you pay them on mobile money. And we're very happy about that because then we can focus on more high value transactions. But it took us a while to get there. And the reason I'm explaining that is that I have learned my lesson, and the lesson is that you must embrace everything that comes at you, because there's always a silver lining that's hidden in that. So when I think about blockchain, and if you think about banks in particular, we have a lot of costs because banking in general requires a lot of contracts. It requires a lot of verification, validation, a lot of information asymmetry that has to move across from different networks. So there's a lot of costs along the way and a lot of friction that happens. Blockchain provides a huge opportunity for banks to actually step back and remove some of that friction. So if you can pick one example, one perfect example might be, for example, Bank Centenary, Bank A is selling treasury securities to me. That usually works on a T+3 settlement. So we sell the securities today, they will settle Wednesday next week. Now, 3 days doesn't sound like a long time, but there's a huge credit risk that I'm taking on Centenary, or Centenary is taking on me, because one of us could go down in those next 3 days. As you may have seen, if you had sold securities to Crane Bank like 3 days before, you would have lost them all. What does blockchain do? It allows that to simultaneously happen. So you do a transaction, and it simultaneously settles. So it removes a lot of the credit risk or the surprises that may have happened in those that 3-day window. And they can go on and on. So you do an LC, a letter of credit from a shipper exporting from Hong Kong to Uganda. There's again a settlement risk there that goes away when you have a simultaneous settlement. So blockchain provides a massive opportunity for banks to reduce the time of settlement, to reduce costs, admin costs, to reduce capital. There are many, many ways that it actually provides a huge benefit to banks. So I am a convert, I am converted. I'm just going to think about ways that we can enable the environment. So very quickly, when I was thinking through some of the issues that are leading to resistance, that might be leading resistance for banks to adopt this, One is regulatory, which you talked about this morning. So how do we get the regulatory framework to come to place? So actually move the regulator, who is very conservative, and they should be for banks, to come in line and move this journey. Compliance, how do we make sure the security works? I think the security has been proven to work, and Cisse can talk about that. But then the last, and I think the biggest impediment, is to get that internal buy-in and create a network amongst us banks. Because there will be a couple of early adopters, but the reality is with these type of things, you need everyone on board. It's either all or nothing. So getting everybody to the same point is going to be, I think, the biggest impediment, so that we can create a backbone that works. But I mean, on behalf of Stanbic and the people that I work with, we're ready to go. Thanks.
Wow. Thank you, Patrick. Headlines tomorrow, red pepper, I am converted. Patrick Muhiri. Patrick, thank you for sharing your thoughts. I think those are brilliant insights, and thank you for charting the way and giving us insights on how we can move forward. I'll pose the same question to the founder and CEO of the largest crypto exchange in the world. Cisse, we've gathered a lot of momentum here. What next, in your opinion?
I think basically with Patrick being so supportive, we want to get a bank account and do a fiat exchange. The deal's done.
I think the pictures, I hope you caught that, that handshake right there. Cisse, anything else?
Well, to be more serious, but I think basically we just got to do bit by bit. I'm very much of the execution type. So we want to figure out, so for example, from my perspective, we want to set up a local Bynars Uganda branch. So we want to get a bank account. We want to understand what we need to do to be fully compliant. We want to understand what kind of KYC, AML, transaction reporting, anything we need to do. We need to understand, in each different location, there's different requirements. So that's for us, something we want to do. And that's our core business. And then at the same time, once we're here, I think we will drag a lot of the other players, a lot of the other international players here. They will do their things. They will do different wallets, different startups, and hopefully we can get this, contribute our presence into this ecosystem. And then we want to help schools. We want to do a lot of hiring. We want to do a lot of training. So a lot of those things will probably be more opportunistic. I usually don't have a detailed plan on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I think just the fact that we're here today and seeing this audience, having banks supporting our industry is huge. So I think this is a really, really good start. And yeah, I think we'll just go from here. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Cisse. There are several other African countries that are gathered here. There are several other African countries that are gathered here, and everyone is asking, Cisse, when are you coming to Kenya? When are you coming to Rwanda? When are you coming to Nigeria? Yeah. What is your response to that?
So we are not specific. We are not country. We're kind of agnostic. We want to work with people who are. We want to work with people. We want to work with people who understand our industry, who understand what we need, and it doesn't matter where they are. As long as we find people who understands us, we will work with them. So, and for blockchain to succeed, we need to be everywhere. So blockchain is a network. I always use the analogy, if you only have one telephone, it doesn't really work very well. I think you said that before, right? Yeah. So Patrick said that before, that's Patrick's line. So for us, I think, but we have a little bit of a bandwidth constraint. We cannot be in too many places just at once, and we can't establish 10 different exchanges at the same time. So I think there's a little bit of constraint from a resource perspective from just our capability. So we will choose the sort of low-hanging fruits that guys were very cooperative with us. I think Uganda is definitely one. We are open. So we are open to working with other countries and other people, but the later ones will definitely take just have to do one by one.
Right. Thank you. On behalf of Uganda, I'd like to welcome Bynars to Africa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Minister of ICT, your parting thoughts on this particular question. Way forward after here.
Thank you, Kwame, and members of the audience. I think going forward, we need to ask what have we achieved such that we can build on it. The momentum we have gained from here is that the conference was an icebreaker. It was able to unblock the barriers of knowledge, isn't it? You've had the born agains, so you should clap for the born again. And one little word of caution. Skeptics about emerging technologies shouldn't be blamed. They only give you some work to do to make them understand the resilience, the potency of the technology. That's point number one. So going forward, the point is that members of the Blockchain Association and the organizers, we need to bring everybody on board, starting with the policymakers. The head of state, the chief executive of the country, the prime minister have endorsed this technology. We have endorsed it. So we'll make sure that cabinet understands this, policymakers understand this, regulators understand this. You have the regulator of the banks, the central bank. You have the regulator of the telecom companies. All of these will be brought on board, such that we can continue to demonstrate those use cases we've been discussing here to all. And as far as the task force Kwame told you, that's for sure. We shall form it next week. And we will link up with Kenya, with Tanzania, with Rwanda, and our Northern Corridor Initiative. We will take this up at our African Telecommunications Union level, such that we can develop continental positions and have one voice in advancing for this technology. So for me, I'm not just born again, but I am now a pastor for it. Thank you.
Hello. Tumwebazi becomes pastor. Red paper headlines, Saturday. Honorable Frank Tumwebazi, thank you so much. And I'd like to really appreciate the panel for these amazing insights that they've shared. And now we are going to officially close our function. And I'd just like to ask that the team on the screens puts up the slide on opportunities, because there's some immediate opportunities, some low-hanging fruits for those who are interested in events beyond this conference. The first is that at the IBM session that was held today, they said they will be doing a training tomorrow for all interested in blockchain development. Your first training with IBM will be held tomorrow at the offices of the Blockchain Association of Uganda and Crypto Savannah, which is in Akawa Business Park. However, for all those interested in the training, you signed up at the meeting. The next training, again, another training opportunity, is that InfiniChains are doing a training coupon. They're training people with knowledge worth $800. So that's a round of applause. The training that they'll be giving is worth $800, and I believe they're doing it for us for free. So therefore, anyone interested, again, both these trainings are essentially blockchain 101. We've learned a lot of knowledge. Let's get practical now. It's time to get to work. So for those interested, sign up at the InfiniChains booth outside. And InfiniChains is also hiring. You can see it on the screen. They're hiring program managers, software developers, and they say there's an attractive remuneration. So make sure that you go to their booth if you're in that category. On that note, it is my pleasure to invite our Minister of ICT and National Guidance to close our function officially. Honorable Frank Tumwebazi.
I have to stand up, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Kwame. Panelists, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure, on behalf of the Right Honorable Prime Minister, whom I spoke to, should have been here to close, but he's not able. On behalf of the government, on behalf of my ministry, first of all, I want to congratulate the organizers. They deserve a round of applause. Thank you so much for being able to network the whole world to Kampala. And thank you, all the delegates that traveled all the way from Asia, from Europe, from all parts of the world. And thank you, Sisi, for finding time to be here. You know, last time, I think Kwame now we should go and post on social media. Because last time, the Facebook founder came to Kenya, I really suffered. Eh? Why can't he come to Uganda? Now, PS Ndemo, where are you? You should go and tell my brother Mosheru that I'm also boasting seriously. He's been able to come to Kampala. But next time you come back, we should take you around because the standard gauge will be connecting all our countries. So I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to thank all the speakers that were able here to demonstrate the applicability of this technology and the real life examples. Sometimes people think it is some kind of not clear concepts, but we were able to know how land transactions can be done quickly using blockchain, how we can go into revenue management, and so on and so forth. Do not worry, as I said in my remarks, about people having queries about the technology. Those give you more work to give answers, and they give you more work to explain and make yourselves clearer. From the Ministry of ICT, like I said yesterday, the framework is there. The connectivity is being solved fully, such that any part of the country can be networked. And two, a framework of emerging technologies, a framework of supporting innovation is already there. You've had the commitment from government, despite the limited public funding. So what our task force will do, together with the organizers, we shall give them terms of reference. We shall give them milestones. If they want a specific policy on blockchain or a specific legislation to mitigate the worries of the central bank, we will do this. We will do this. We will proceed through and have it endorsed. Because this is nothing else but a step forward in opening up jobs for the young people. That's our mission. That's our... Because, really, it's not just for the sake of understanding blockchain. At the end of the day, you must earn from it. That's the trade. So I'm really happy, and I want to thank Kwame and your team for really helping our work as government. We deserve to give you a round of applause. But most importantly and finally, let's continue in a simple language to answer all the FAQs about blockchain. Let's do this in the media. Let's do this on social media. Let's do this in our parliaments. Let's do this in our academia. I am happy we have Dr. Dorothy Okero here. She can stand up and you see her. Dr. Dorothy chairs the board of our telecom regulator. She's also on the governing council of our ICT Institute. So she now understands that the curriculum of that institute is not complete if it does not have blockchain. Yes. And actually, this is a challenge to our universities because curriculum development is more or less, from the traditional sense, is rigid. So when should it open up to embrace new technologies? This is some homework for you to take home. I really want to thank you. You are all ordered to cancel your flights. Because after these 2 days of intensive engagement on blockchain, your heads and your brains are somehow blocked. You just need to take off days to visit the equator. You need to take off days to go and see the source of the Nile and its mother, Lake Victoria. Because you see, they call it the source of the Nile. The Nile has a source. The source is the mother of it. And this is Lake Victoria, the only lake that has managed to give birth to the Nile. And all this is found nowhere else but in the power of That's why we are able to embrace blockchain so easily. The fresh waters of the Nile enable us to understand the complexities of these coins. So please take off time. And if you have more 3-4 days, just visit our parks and see the mountain gorillas. The origin, their home is here. Come and see the giraffes in our parks and understand the entire beauty of Uganda. Well knowing that from January to December, our temperatures cannot go over 25 degrees Celsius, despite the threats of global warming. With those few remarks, I want to thank you once again. When you go back after the 4 days of visiting Uganda, greet your dear ones, and remember 2019 blockchain meeting Kampala is underway. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I'd like to request you to please stay there. In the interest of time, may I request Bynars team, organizers, and panelists, can you please come on stage for a photo opportunity? Can we do this quickly? We also have the team that is organizing the press conference upstairs. I'm going to request that you please create the way, and everyone, let's move down quickly. We've had 2 good days of interactive, thought-provoking discussion. Yuvin, please. Thank you. We're going to see how the block and chain is going to organize this photo shoot, because there's a center of attraction to a block and a chain. As we take the picture, I just want to remind you all, we are following this live on our Twitter handle at... Yep. Help me.
I think we need the first row to move.
Okay, I'm gonna, exactly. Let's, the guys at the front, you can actually kneel, or the guys who are taller, can you come to the front, and the ones who are shorter to the back?
Okay. Yeah, but just smile. If you smile a lot, you'll be seen.
Everybody say blockchain on the count.
Blockchain.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Now we're going to have the press briefing. Could members of the press please go to Nile Hall upstairs? It has been my pleasure to host you for the past 2 days with Michael, my colleague. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I'm going to request anybody who would like to speak to CZ, please give us quick access to the press briefing so that we can actually have all your questions in that room. So, I'm watching them. No, those are for you guys.